Let's get to Mike Shildt. Now, Mike Shildt last year, folks, I got to be honest with you. He irritated me a few times. First of all, he did a great job. I want to state that he did a great job. 93 wins, pretty damn good in a Major League Baseball season. But there were times when I was a little irritated because I don't like to be talked to like a little kid. And what I mean by that, if your ball club has a bad night and gets beat 7-2 and is kicking it around the infield or striking out a dozen times, don't be afraid to say, we had a bad night, man. We didn't play very well tonight. We got to do better. But Mike Shildt, I mean, he got really irritated a few times last year after bad ball games, and he always wanted to talk about, well, we won 5 out of the last 6 series. Yeah, well, yeah, but you got your butt kicked tonight. Just admit it. That's a great thing about baseball. You talk about the game today, and tomorrow you turn the page. You're only as good as your last game. And Mike Shildt last year, I used to get irritated. I would text guys that were in that press conference and what the hell's he doing? Be honest with the ball club and be honest with the media. Be honest with the fans. Okay? It's not always rosy. I mean, that's the great thing about baseball, even though there's nights when, man, my team really stunk. But then there's that hope of coming back tomorrow night at 7-10 and even in the series, then that Thursday day game, win the series. That's what we love the game for. I mean, the game of baseball beats you up mentally, physically. And especially if you're a fan, you can't go out there and play mentally. It just wears you down. You're staying up late. You're frustrated that your team got beat. You wake up in the morning. I know that's the way I work. I come down, walking down the stairs in the morning. I'm still irritated the Padres got beat the night before. But I can't wait for the next night's game. But there's nothing wrong with saying your ball club played poorly. And we got to play with more energy. And that's not always the case. I mean, I will tell you that I'll be the first guy to tell you when your team plays poorly and you're not hitting, it looks like you're lethargic and like you got the give a factor. But that's not true. I mean, you're going against great major league players, and you got to go out there. You got to match that energy every night. And you're not going to be able to get up like a football team for 162 games. That's unrealistic. That's when you give certain guys days off and let them get their legs back, let them have a day off mentally to where their mind can relax a little bit. They know they can come to the ballpark a little bit later, maybe take their kids to school or run some errands, just be a normal human being one day. And then know you got the day off. You can come in, you can work on some things, and then you bingo, the following day you're back in the lineup, and it makes you fresher. And I've seen a lot of great players to try to play the 162 and it gets them in trouble. And they go into a prolonged slump and then they got to fight their way out of it. Then I've seen other guys where they start to go into a slump and the manager is able to read his players really well and will give that guy a day off. And all of a sudden that guy comes back and he's on a 10-game hitting streak. You got to be able to read your players. And not everybody is going to be ready to play 162 games. I mean, Manny wants to play 162 games. And this year, who knows? Maybe he will. Maybe not all at third base. Maybe he'll DH a little bit. But the one thing, whether you like Manny Machado or aren't a fan of Manny Machado, he doesn't run down to first hard or he does this or he does that. I'll tell you what, man, he posts. He wants to play every stinking game of the year. And I got great respect for that. Those guys that want to play every day, whether their hamstring is barking or their shoulders aching or their elbows twingy, those guys flat out and go out there and get the job done. And I got great respect. Now, as Manny gets older, you're going to have to give him a day here and there. And who knows, maybe, the latter part of his career ends up playing first base a little bit or DHing. As long as he swings the bat, he's going to be in the lineup. But, Mike Shildt, don't be afraid to say out in the media, man, we had a rough night. So-and-so didn't get the job done, or you're not going to necessarily say, well, Fernando struck out 4 times. He really stunk it up. You never talk individuals. You talk about the pitcher. Well, he didn't have his good stuff tonight. That's fine. But as far as your position players, you say, hey, we had a bad night. We didn't swing the bat well. We didn't play great defense. Don't be afraid to admit if your team didn't play well. That bugs me. As a former coach, I mean, your team is not going to play great baseball or great basketball or great football every time they go out on the athletic field. So if you have a bad night, you have a bad night. Move on. But when you're asked questions, don't get defensive. Answer them. I mean, we know your team sucked tonight, Mike. Why are you giving them excuses? That's my big deal. Don't be afraid to say, "Hey, we had a rough night. We just didn't play well tonight. Ball didn't bounce our way." You don't have to belabor it, but don't try to get mad at the guy asking a question. Say, "Hey, how do you feel? Your team really kind of struggled." What do you mean we struggled tonight? Well, you got beat 7-3, and then give me 38 different reasons why you got beat 7-3. Don't be afraid to admit your ball club had a bad night. That really bugged me last year. I got to be honest. Okay, now here's the deal about Mike Shildt, and I respect him, but man, again, right out of the gate, and I realize, Fan Fest is like recruiting day. There's never been a coach that's had a bad recruiting year. Would you all agree with me on that? We've had the best recruiting year we've ever had, or we've had the number 10 recruiting class in America. Okay, there's no team that's ever had a bad fan fest when they talk to their fans and the media. They're not going to come out and go, well, we haven't done squat this offseason. We signed one free agent, a guy that's going to be our catcher 50% of the time. We gave him $3.5 million. We signed another catcher to a minor league contract who won a Gold Glove back in 2017, but he got DFA'd by a team that lost 121 games last year when he was hitting 114. Mike Shildt said, quote, here's Mike Shildt's quote yesterday or Saturday. We have had a really productive offseason. What? We have really had a productive offseason. Can somebody please explain that to me? They signed Elias Diaz, about 6 days ago. Okay, that's the big free agent signing. Well, what about the guys they lost? Kyle Higashioka, Hassan Kim, Tanner Scott, Jurickson Profar, Donovan Solano, David Peralta. Maybe Peralta will end up coming back. I mean, those guys all performed pretty damn well last year for the Padres in a year where they went to the playoffs and should have at least gotten to the National League Championship Series. Should have beat the Dodgers. And, I'm going to go to my grave saying that. I'm going to be going to my grave saying that the Padres, with that 2-1 series leading the division series, they should have beat the Dodgers. And they should have. But all of a sudden, they couldn't hit. 24 straight innings. That's unbelievable. Still, to this day, 24 straight innings. I'll never forget that. 24 straight innings. They couldn't score a stinking run. With the power they had, the speed they had, the ability not to strike out all that often, 24 innings. Man, there were two games to one. And then the Dodgers never let them score again. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. But Mike Shildt thought the Padres have had a really productive offseason. Now, I'm going to say this, and I don't want this to sound like I'm picking on Mike Shildt, but Mike Shildt can only manage the guys that are on his lineup card or on his roster. Okay? He's got to go with what the front office and the ownership give him. Okay, the glass is half full, and I totally understand that. But I don't think you have to flat out come out and say we've had a productive offseason. Now, he will go in and talk about, well, this guy's having a great workout. This guy's having a great workout. Well, again, I go back to the recruiting thing. Nobody's ever had a bad recruiting year. Nobody's had a bad fan fest. Everybody thinks they're going to go 162-0. Well, when you're out working out, nobody's keeping score. I mean, you taking 100 cuts today or 150 cuts? You taking 100 ground balls? You're running sprints? I mean, as long as everybody shows up healthy, that's what I want everybody to show up in camp healthy. That's the big deal. But Mike Shildt, he got those rose-colored glasses on. And if you want to do that with the public and the media, great. But man, down deep, you got to be honest with your ball club. When things aren't going well, you got to call guys out. You got to get guys to bust their hump. And, run the ball club. Don't be afraid about a guy being mad at you. If you're a manager and you're worried about a guy being mad at you, then you're probably not the guy to manage the ball club. You're not out to win friends. You're out to win ball games. Okay, we're not worried about popularity contests. We're worried about winning ball games here in San Diego. At least, well, that's the way I look at it. I don't know how you look at it, but I want to win ball games. I just don't want to go to the ballpark and eat hot dogs and have a Coke or popcorn or walk around and look at all the great stuff. I want to win ball games. When I go to the game and make all the effort to go down there, when I'm driving home, I want to come home with a W. I don't want to come home with an L. I'm sorry. I'm a competitor. Even when I was a broadcaster, Bob Scanlon used to say to me after games when the Padres would get beat, he goes, "Man, you take it harder than the ball club does." I go, "Bobby, if we're going to be involved with this, man, we want to win. We want to win. I just don't want to have a job just to have a job. I want to win ball games." Okay, now some of the things that Mike Shildt also said. Xander Bogaerts will be the shortstop. Not a surprise. AJ Preller told me that at the happy holiday party we had, our holiday happy hour at the Leucadian. It was on December 5th. He told me that night it looks like Bogaerts will be the shortstop. I go, great, get him in shape and he'll be great. And hopefully he comes into camp a little bit lighter, a little bit, a little more flexibility. I have no doubt Xander Bogaerts can still play a good, solid shortstop. Is he going to win a Gold Glove? I don't know. We'll see. But you know what? I think Xander's a highly motivated guy, good high character guy, a good teammate, and I think he'll bust his hump. And I really think he will do a good job. I believe in Xander Bogaerts. I'm not writing him off. A lot of Padre fans, a lot of baseball fans, oh, he's making all that money. Yeah, I know he's making a lot of money. Padres gave him the deal, and you know what? He was smart enough to accept the deal. Don't blame him. He's going to go out and he's going to give you everything he's got. The guy, there's a lot of pride with Xander Bogaerts. He's a good teammate, though, and a good man, and wants to get back to that form he had in Boston. So I'm pulling for him, and I hope he wins that damn Gold Glove. I really do. And I'm also the guy last year when they said they were moving him to second base. Remember that? I said, well, you know what? They'll probably, in 2025, Ha-Seong Kim doesn't come back. They'll move him back to shortstop. Well, they ended up having to move him back towards the end of last year because Ha-Seong Kim got hurt. So Xander got a little reprieve over there at second base. Now he's back at shortstop, where he's most comfortable. And I'm pulling for him. And then probably, the thing that we figured, it was no big surprise on FanFest. They weren't holding out. Mike Shildt said that Jay Cronenworth will be the second baseman. And we assumed that. He didn't really get into first base. First base right now may be a question mark. And the reason for that, Luis Arraez can play there. Or he could be the designated hitter. But will Luis Arraez make it $14 million? Will he be on this roster? That's the better question. Will he be on this roster? But I'm going to tell you something about Luis Arraez. He's a very average defender, and probably at second base, probably average at best at second base. I'll tell you what, he's doing a pretty good job over there at first. He worked at it last year, and he got better. And see, I'm one of these guys that I evaluate guys every day, not, oh man, that guy really sucks. And no matter how hard that guy works, he always sucks. That ain't the way I work. Every day a ball player goes out there and you watch him work, you watch him play, you got to evaluate him because guys get better. I'm a big believer in any sport or really any walk of life. When you show up to your job every day, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You don't stay the same. And if you're really passionate and really into it, working at it, you're going to get better. You're going to get better 1% a day. If you get better 1% a day, you're going to be a hell of a worker, hell of a ball player. You're going to be great at whatever you do. But if you show up with a bad attitude, bad work ethic, then you're going to eventually work your way down into the porcelain fixture. That's simple. I want guys that want to lay it on the line. You don't need a bunch of superstars to win in baseball. You got to have some arms. You got to have some guys on the mound that can bring it and get people out. But as far as a lot of the other spots, you need some grinders, guys that are going to be there every day, thick and thin, good, bad, indifferent. And we got some good guys. We really do. But it looks like Bogaerts is at short. Cronenworth is at second, and we know Manny's at third, and Manny's completely healthy. Manny said at FanFest Saturday he's completely healthy and ready to go. All right. Okay. Now, the other thing that Mike Shildt said, and he said a lot of things, but I wanted to get to the meat and the potatoes of it. We had thought maybe Adrian Morejon would, maybe get an opportunity to be a starter finally. But doesn't look that's going that way. They're going to try to protect him because he had so many injuries. And the big thing with Warren, he got to make sure he's in good shape, get in good shape. Hey, remember Ryan Weathers? He's lost like 30 pounds. He got a haircut. He looked great. I saw pictures of him at the Marlins Fan Fest. He looked great. Lost 30 pounds. Still wore his hat backwards, but got his haircut. Looked great. And Ryan's a good kid. I wish him the best. But anyways, Adrian Morejon, get in shape. Hopefully he's in shape. Hopefully he can stay healthy. They're going to use him out of the bullpen again. And who knows with his stuff, maybe he ends up, as he gets a little bit deeper into his career, maybe he ends up being a high leverage guy in the seventh, eighth, or ninth inning. I don't know. Are they going to trade Robert Suarez? There's been talk about that. He's got 1 year to go on his $10 million deal. I have no idea who's going to be at Petco Park on opening day. I have none whatsoever. Because anybody that's making any kind of money could be an endangered species.